Hey everyone, before we dive into this wild story, please hit that subscribe button to join the channel and stay updated with more gripping tales like this on. I'd spent years at Zenith Innovations, pouring my heart into every project. My cubicle was a second home, cluttered with coffee mugs and late-night notes. I was the lead engineer on our flagship product, a cutting-edge AI processor. My design was revolutionary, and I'd filed a patent under my name to protect it. The team respected me, and I thought my boss, Mr. Grayson, did too. But things started to shift when his nephew, Ethan, joined the company. Ethan was fresh out of college, barely grasping the basics of our work. Yet, Grayson began favoring him, giving him key assignments. I brushed it off, thinking it was just family pride. Little did I know, my world was about to turn upside down. The patent I'd filed was my safety net, my proof of contribution. I never imagined it would become my weapon. Ethan's arrival marked the beginning of my unraveling. I kept my head down, focusing on my work. But the whispers in the break room grew louder. Grayson's favoritism was no secret, and I was the odd one out. Ethan's first week was a disaster, but Grayson didn't care. He'd show up late, fumble through meetings, and ask basic questions I'd answered years ago. I tried mentoring him, offering tips to help him catch up. He'd nod, but his eyes were glued to his phone. Grayson started pulling me off key projects, saying Ethan needed experience. I was stunned but kept quiet, hoping it was temporary. My colleagues noticed, shooting me sympathetic looks in the hallways. I'd spent a decade building Zenith's tech, and now I was sidelined. The patent, though, was still mine, locked in the system with my name. I checked it weekly, paranoid about corporate games. Ethan's mistakes piled up, but Grayson covered for him. Deadlines slipped and clients complained, yet Ethan got praise. I felt invisible, my contributions erased. The office vibe turned toxic, and I was the target. But I wasn't ready to give up just yet. One morning, Grayson called me into his office, his face unreadable. I expected a routine project update, but his tone was cold. He said the company needed new blood to lead the AI division. My stomach dropped as he named Ethan as my replacement. I'd trained the kid, and now he was taking my job. I asked why, but Grayson dodged, muttering about strategic shifts. My years of loyalty meant nothing. I left his office in a daze, my mind racing. The patent was my only leverage, a fact I kept to myself. I'd filed it solo, before Ethan even joined. Back at my desk, I pulled up the patent records. My name was still there, clear as day. I wasn't just a cog in their machine. I had proof of my work. Grayson didn't know what was coming. I started planning my next move, quietly gathering evidence. The office became unbearable after the demotion. Ethan strutted around, acting like he'd earned my role. He'd bark orders, misquoting my own designs back to me. My colleagues whispered about the injustice, but no one spoke up. I kept my head down, documenting everything. Emails, meeting notes, even Ethan's botched code. I saved it all. The patent was my ace, but I needed more to expose the truth. I reached out to an old mentor, a lawyer named Clara. She confirmed the patent gave me legal standing. If Zenith used my design, I had rights. I spent nights researching corporate law, learning my options. Ethan's incompetence was glaring, but Grayson kept shielding him. Clients started pulling out, frustrated by delays. I knew the company was vulnerable. My plan was taking shape, but timing was everything. Clara advised me to stay calm and collect more proof. I started recording Ethan's mistakes in detail, from missed deadlines to faulty prototypes. He was in over his head, and the team knew it. I overheard colleagues joking about his promotion in the break room. Morale was tanking, and I wasn't the only one suffering. Grayson's bias was dragging Zenith down. I kept my patent documents close, stored on a secure drive. Every night, I reviewed my strategy with Clara. She suggested a formal complaint to the board, but I wasn't ready. I wanted Grayson to feel the weight of his choices. Ethan's next project review was a disaster. Clients tore into his presentation. I sat quietly, taking notes. The patent was my trump card, but I needed the perfect moment. I could feel the tide turning in my favor. Weeks passed, and Ethan's failures mounted. A major client threatened to sue over a defective prototype. I knew it was based on my original design, but Ethan had butchered it. Grayson tried to spin it, blaming team errors. I wasn't named, but the implications stung. I decided it was time to act. I drafted a letter to the board, outlining Ethan's incompetence and Grayson's nepotism. I didn't mention the patent yet. That was my secret weapon. Clara reviewed the letter, sharpening its tone. She warned me about retaliation, but I was done playing nice. I sent the letter anonymously, knowing it would stir things up. The board called an emergency meeting, and Grayson looked rattled. I kept working, acting oblivious. The patent was still mine, and I was ready to use it. The board's response was swift. They demanded a full project audit. Ethan was scrambling, trying to cover his tracks. I volunteered to help with the audit, knowing my records were spotless. Grayson hesitated but couldn't refuse without looking suspicious. I spent days organizing files, highlighting Ethan's errors. My colleagues started opening up, sharing their own frustrations. We were a team again, united against Grayson's favoritism. I kept the patent out of it, waiting for the right moment. The audit revealed Ethan's incompetence in stark detail. Clients were furious, and the board was livid. Grayson tried to deflect, but the evidence was overwhelming. I felt a spark of hope for the first time in months. My plan was working, but I needed to stay sharp. During the audit, I found a memo Grayson had sent to Ethan, praising my original AI design. It was dated before Ethan joined, proving my work predated his leadership. I saved it, along with my patent files. Clara said this was gold. It tied my design to Zenith's success. The board started questioning Grayson's decisions, and he was on edge. Ethan, meanwhile, was crumbling under pressure. He'd lash out at the team, making things worse. I kept my cool, playing the loyal employee. Behind the scenes, I was building a case. Clara helped me draft a formal claim, citing my patent rights. If Zenith wanted to keep using my design, they'd have to deal with me. The audit was wrapping up, and I was ready to strike. The board summoned Grayson and Ethan for a closed-door meeting. I wasn't invited, but I knew what was coming. The audit report, which I'd helped prepare, was damning. It listed every failure, with Ethan's name all over it. I waited in my cubicle, heart pounding. Clara had prepped me for the next step, revealing the patent. I'd confront Grayson privately first, giving him a chance to fix things. If he refused, I'd go public. The meeting dragged on, and rumors swirled. When Grayson emerged, he looked pale. Ethan stormed out, avoiding eye contact. The board had grilled them, and they knew the company was at risk. I scheduled a meeting with Grayson for the next day. The patent was my leverage, and I was ready to use it. That night, I barely slept, rehearsing my confrontation with Grayson. Clara and I finalized the patent claim, ready to file if needed. I had proof of my contributions, from design sketches to emails. The memo I'd found was the cherry on top. I walked into Grayson's office the next morning, calm but firm. I laid out the truth. Ethan was failing, and I'd been unfairly replaced. Then I dropped the bomb. The patent was still in my name. Grayson's face froze. He hadn't realized. I told him Zenith couldn't use my design without my consent. He stammered, offering excuses, but I held my ground. I gave him a choice: reinstate me or face a legal fight. He asked for time, and I gave him 24 hours. I left his office, adrenaline pumping. The next day, Grayson called me back, his tone softer. He offered a compromise, a raise but no reinstatement. I refused. knowing my worth. The patent gave me power, and I wasn't backing down. I reminded him of the audit's findings and the client lawsuits looming. He squirmed, clearly cornered. I told him I'd already consulted a lawyer and was ready to escalate. Clara had prepped me to mention the board, which I did. Grayson's bravado faded. He knew the board was watching. He promised to discuss it with them, but I wasn't holding my breath. I left his office and emailed Clara the update. She urged me to file the patent claim soon. I spent the day gathering final evidence, ready for a fight. Ethan avoided me, sensing the shift. The office was buzzing with rumors. The board called another meeting, this time inviting me. I walked in with my patent documents and the audit report. Grayson looked nervous, Ethan absent. I laid out my case: years of work, a patented design, and unfair demotion. I showed them the memo tying my work to Zenith's success. The board listened, asking pointed questions about Ethan's role. I didn't hold back, detailing his failures. I mentioned the patent last, emphasizing my legal rights. The room went silent. One board member asked Grayson why he'd sidelined me. He fumbled, blaming miscommunication. The board wasn't buying it. They thanked me and asked me to wait outside. I left, heart racing, knowing I'd made my case. The patent was my shield, and I'd wielded it well. While waiting, I overheard Ethan arguing with Grayson in the hallway. Ethan was furious, accusing his uncle of ruining everything. Grayson snapped back, saying Ethan should have stepped up. It was clear their alliance was cracking. I stayed out of sight, letting them implode. The board called me back in after an hour. They apologized for the oversight and offered my position back. I pushed for more credit for my work and Ethan's removal from the project. They hesitated but agreed to review it. I left the meeting feeling vindicated but cautious. Clara warned me to keep the patent claim ready. Zenith's survival depended on my design, and they knew it. I was back in the game, but I wasn't done fighting. The next week, the board announced Ethan's reassignment to a junior role. Grayson was on thin ice, with a formal review pending. I was reinstated as lead engineer, with a public acknowledgement of my contributions. My colleagues congratulated me, relieved the team was back on track. I kept the patent documents close, just in case. Clara helped me draft a contract ensuring my rights to the design. Zenith's clients returned, impressed by the changes. I led a new project review, fixing Ethan's mistakes. The team rallied behind me, and morale soared. Grayson avoided me, his authority weakened. I felt a mix of triumph and exhaustion. The patent had saved me, but the battle had taken a toll. I started mentoring new engineers, determined to rebuild. Grayson's review didn't go well. He was demoted to a smaller role. The board brought in a new director, Ms. Harper, who valued merit over connections. She met with me, praising my work and the patent's impact. I shared my vision for Zenith's future, and she listened. We started rebuilding the AI division, focusing on innovation. I trained my team to avoid the mistakes of the past. Ethan faded into the background, barely showing up. I heard he was job hunting elsewhere. The patent remained my safeguard, a reminder of my worth. Clara checked in, proud of how I'd handled it. The office felt alive again, with collaboration driving us forward. I was back where I belonged, but I stayed vigilant. Months later, Zenith's AI processor launched successfully, with my name on the press release. Clients praised the design, unaware of the drama behind it. I framed the patent certificate and hung it in my cubicle. It was a symbol of my fight and victory. Ms. Harper promoted me to head of R&D, a role I'd earned. The team thrived under my leadership, and we pushed new boundaries. Grayson left the company quietly, his reputation tarnished. Ethan followed soon after, unable to keep up. I kept in touch with Clara, grateful for her guidance. The patent was still mine, and I'd never let it go. Zenith was stronger now, and so was I. The battle had shaped me, but I'd come out on top. Looking back, I realized how close I'd come to losing everything. Grayson's nepotism could have buried me, but the patent was my lifeline. I learned to trust my instincts and document everything. My colleagues became my allies, sharing their own stories of unfair treatment. We pushed for transparency, and Ms. Harper listened. Zenith adopted new policies to prevent favoritism. I felt proud, knowing I'd sparked change. The patent wasn't just a legal document, it was my legacy. I started teaching my team about intellectual property, urging them to protect their work. Clara offered to help pro bono if anyone needed it. The office was a different place now, built on fairness. I'd fought for my place and won. The launch's success brought media attention, and I was interviewed about the AI processor. I kept the drama private, focusing on the tech. But I mentioned the patent, emphasizing its importance. The article went viral, and I got messages from other engineers. They shared similar stories of being sidelined. I realized my fight wasn't just personal, it was part of a bigger issue. I started a blog, anonymously, to share advice on protecting intellectual property. Clara helped me keep it legal. The blog grew, and engineers reached out for guidance. Zenith's new policies became a model for other firms. I felt a sense of purpose beyond my job. The patent had given me a voice, and I was using it. A year later, Zenith was thriving, and I was at the helm of innovation. Ms. Harper and I worked closely, planning new projects. The team was tight-knit, with no trace of the old toxicity. I kept the patent updated, ensuring my rights were secure. Clara became a friend, always ready with advice. I mentored young engineers, teaching them to stand up for their work. The blog grew into a community, with guest posts from others. I stayed anonymous, but the impact was real. Zenith's reputation soared, and I was proud to be part of it. The fight with Grayson felt like a distant memory, but it had shaped me. I was stronger, wiser, and ready for anything. Sometimes, I'd stare at the patent certificate and feel a quiet pride. It wasn't just a document, it was my proof of resilience. I'd turned Grayson's betrayal into a triumph, reclaiming my place at Zenith. The company was now a leader in AI, and I was its driving force. Ms. Harper trusted me, and the team flourished under my lead. I kept in touch with old colleagues, who thanked me for exposing Grayson's nepotism. The blog I'd started was growing, helping engineers protect their work. Clara and I planned a webinar to share patent advice. I felt a new purpose, beyond my job. The patent was my anchor, but my fight was for everyone. Grayson's actions had sparked my mission. I'd won, and I was just getting started. The webinar with Clara drew hundreds of engineers, eager to learn. We shared strategies for securing intellectual property and navigating corporate traps. I told my story anonymously, and the response was electric. Engineers emailed me, inspired to fight for their rights. Zenith backed the initiative, funding more workshops. Ms. Harper pushed for fairer policies, inspired by my case. I was no longer just an engineer, I was a changemaker. The patent kept me grounded, a reminder of my power. The blog grew into a community, with guest posts from others. Clara ensured it stayed legally sound. My cubicle was now a corner office, but I stayed focused. The fight had reshaped me, and I was ready for more. Zenith's next project was a global AI platform, and I led it with confidence. The patent was the backbone, but I shared credit with my team. We worked tirelessly, driven by a shared vision. Ms. Harper gave me free rein, trusting my instincts. Competitors noticed, offering me jobs, but I stayed loyal. Zenith was my home, rebuilt on fairness. The patent was my security, but my team was my strength. Clara checked in, amazed at my progress. The blog became a hub, with stories of engineers winning battles. Grayson's betrayal was a fading memory, replaced by my impact. I was building a legacy, one project at a time. A young engineer approached me, her story eerily familiar. Her work had been stolen at her old job, and she felt powerless. I saw myself in her and shared my journey. I gave her Clara's contact and blog resources. She left with a spark of hope, ready to fight. The patent was still mine, checked regularly for security. Zenith's new policies ensured fairness for all. Ms. Harper and I launched a mentorship program for young talent. The blog grew, offering legal guides and templates. Clara joined as a consultant, thrilled by the impact. My fight was now a movement, changing lives. I'd turned pain into purpose, and it felt incredible. The global AI platform launched to global acclaim, with my patent at its core. My name was in every headline, tied to Zenith's success. I embraced the spotlight, sharing the patent's role. The blog went public, and I revealed myself as its founder. Engineers worldwide reached out, inspired by my story. Clara and I started a book on protecting intellectual property. Zenith sponsored it, valuing transparency. Ms. Harper mentored me, sharing her own struggles. The team was a family, built on trust. The patent was my foundation, but my mission was my drive. Grayson's betrayal was a distant lesson. I'd turned it into a revolution. The book deal moved forward, and Clara and I poured our hearts into it. It was a practical guide for engineers, backed by Zenith. The blog community contributed stories, making it a team effort. I dedicated it to my colleagues, who'd supported me through the fight. The patent was a formality now, but I kept it active. My focus was empowering others, not just myself. Ms. Harper spoke at the book launch, praising my resilience. The industry was shifting, with firms adopting fairer practices. I felt fulfilled, knowing I'd sparked change. Grayson's actions were a faint echo, drowned by my success. The corner office was nice, but the impact was everything. Thanks for sticking with me through this journey. If you enjoyed this story, please subscribe to the channel for more tales of triumph and justice. Your support keeps us going.